guys, welcome to Clockwork Noodles for perhaps the final Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead breakdown. And yes, I know we're only on episode 9, but they did announce, I think yesterday, that they were suspending this anime for the foreseeable future. Perhaps it's because they can't get the slots. It is really sad. I do think this show had a lot going for it. There was so much potential. I think it blew up and then it kind of just faded away. I know initially they had the Olympics or some sporting event, ended up taking up the slot. It does feel a bit sad if you consider the fact that the anime was perhaps there first and then they had to shuffle. So the fact that they have suspended it indefinitely is also really sad. It's not like a Golden Kamuy where we know we're getting it 6 months down the line. We just don't know what's going on with this. This is for now the last episode. Annoyingly, it does end on a cliffhanger. The episode itself was very, very strong. There's some very good points. So we'll go through it together for the last final time. I'll give you my overall thoughts on the show and maybe my score if they do announce the last 3 episodes coming out at some point. Depending on what's going on the channel, I may go back and do them. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys are looking after yourselves. We have got the end of season review going up in 2 days time. We've got the final Undead Girl Murder Fast tomorrow. Lots of things going on the channel, and then we go into my week break where I will chill out, do my own thing. Then we come back for a whole new season, so I can't wait for a little break. A lot's getting to me right now, so I think we do need a break. That just means there's one more video to do before that. So thank you guys, and thank you for your continued support. It's been a very difficult season. It's just been quiet. There's been not much movement in the numbers or anything. It was interesting to see that Akira was initially looking down on his dad. His dad was telling him to dream big, but he himself was just a farmer. That was something that didn't make sense to him, and it felt like he looked down on his dad who hadn't really dreamed big. But what he's not seeing is that his dad was really happy to be a farmer and to get his son the best that he could. It's a very powerful episode in a sense that we're finally looking at the idea of family, the idea of how do you pay them back. And obviously with Akira, he hasn't seen his family for 3 years, which is quite sad, but he's just been locked up in this very toxic scenario where he probably hasn't got the time to go see them. We end up saying goodbye to the camper van for a bit, but walking by foot, I'm always like, this is the moment where you'll perhaps encounter stuff, and I keep forgetting that there are zombie animals floating around, which does make this more dangerous because you don't know an animal's movements. Animals can be very unpredictable at the best of times, but we do see that somebody had the very clever idea of blocking the zombies. I feel like they gloss over the fact that some of those people weren't infected, and maybe they trapped some of the people in there who were okay, but it was too risky to get them out. So I'm going to gloss over the fact that there might have been a few poor people who ended up just being sacrificed for the greater cause on this one. Small villages would be probably the better place to hide out because you're cut off and you can probably grow things on the land. And I guess farmers do have it quite good when they'd be able to feed themselves and look after themselves. Gag from last week, everybody knows exactly what's on the bucket list. They knew the treehouse idea was on there. That I really like because this time we've got Kenshiro and Shizuka both saying it in sync. Really like it, and you can see just at the corner starry-eyed Akira looking at the tree just going, I need this is what I need to do. I don't care. I suddenly have the urge to help this poor gentleman. How dare you say we're not going to help him? I like that moment. Again, it's just showing that Akira, great character in the fact that he cares for people, but he also does have his I want to do this because I like this benefits me. There's nothing wrong with that. He helps somebody and he has a great time. It felt like a nice little do-it-yourself episode, a nice homage to the anime. Really enjoyed it because that anime was also really good, and it was nice just seeing Shizuka, Beatrix just chilling out together. We also see Beatrix is still learning her characters, which is great because at the moment I also am studying Japanese. Sometimes I feel like I can do a few of them really well. I can remember some of them because I picture them. The other ones I just get so confusing, and then when you start adding the little bits to them and then they change the first letter, confusion everywhere. But I am not going to give up. This is now 38 days. This moment in general was very deep. We were looking at the idea of being mindful for others. Shizuka in episode 1 would have probably been against the idea. She was very much the idea of people are threats, people are liabilities. But I think with Akira, he's always been kind of mindful for people. Obviously, he got sucked into a situation where he was so mindful of what people were thinking. He ended up being roped into that toxic environment and unable to break out. I think being mindful has to have its limits because you become vulnerable of forgetting about yourself. But I think you should be mindful of how other people are feeling. It's a very powerful episode, and I think this episode in particular is a strong one. I think it might be one of the better ones where we can see Akira starting to see with this old man, I want to suddenly go see my parents. The whole situation of him going, okay, we've got time to stop and go help this guy. As he helps the guy, he starts to realize, actually, I do miss my parents, and this man reminds me of this. Learning some very useful skills is always going to be great. Him being able to build something, being able to build shelter feels like one of the first key important things to surviving. If you want to survive anywhere, you need to know how to build a shelter, how to get yourself out the rain, how to make sure that you yourself are high up. I like the fact that the treehouse is high in the air because there's a possibility they might return to the sky later, and maybe that's where they settle down. He's off the floor. You're out of the way of zombies. It's probably the best place to be. This is where it starts to really hit. I think I started to go, oh, actually, this is hitting quite sad because it's the idea that you don't always have enough time, or you don't realise you've got enough time until it is gone. Akira learning about this gentleman building become a bit closer to that farmer mindset that he once upon a time looked down upon. And I think it's a really powerful episode with him being able to see the error of his ways. A growth thing. It's a very mature thing to realise that once upon a time you weren't in a great mindset, but now you can see better. It is quite sad because the gentleman left it and he thought that he would wait till his son was older to build a treehouse. He ran out of time. And especially later on when we see that the dad may not have the most time left. It's powerful. We can maybe think maybe we should enjoy things a bit more. Maybe there's things we've been putting off that we perhaps shouldn't be putting off. Very powerful lesson. I think ever so often Zom 100 will pull a very powerful lesson. We really shouldn't take things for granted because you never know when it's going to be pulled away. I love the fact that the girls get on so nicely, but I do hope that one day they could possibly return to this place because it's a perfect place. It's off the ground, and I think that the guy himself, for once, I don't fear for him. I don't feel like he's going to die or anything, but it's nice to see that it ends up with him longing to see his dad, longing to see his parents. He starts to reflect upon his actions, starts to reflect upon his past. How can I pay them back? I wasn't expecting them to see him and then clobbering him. It was a very powerful speech, but I guess the dad's right. It's not the time to do it. But maybe he himself hasn't really experienced the lesson that Akira just did, that sometimes you put it off and then you run out of time. So it's a possibility that Akira's speech perhaps was needed and perhaps his dad needed to hear it. He's now going to run out of time. He knows that he's dying. I don't think he's turning into a zombie. He does seem to actually have a disease or something. It's a very nice bit where we have the home. We get to see a nice traditional Japanese village. It's nice for Beatrix, who gets to see a bit more of a rural Japan, which I would love to do. If I ever go to Japan, have the opportunity to do so, I wouldn't spend all my time in Tokyo. I want to go out and see more rural aspects of Japan. I also want to see a nice little hidden shrine up in the mountains, somewhere just out of the way of everything. I just want to do something like that, I guess. I want to have both aspects of Japan. It's really nice to see her chilling and how welcoming his family are, but Akira starts to realise that it's not as easy as he wants to be able to repay his parents, because his parents are pretty chill with just happy as they are. Like, she's happy to do the dishes. He's happy to have put him through and worked really hard to put him through college. That's just what they are. They, in general, weren't expecting anything big. They're not really expecting anything from him because they were happy to provide, which is really, really nice. Akira does want to do something. I guess the best thing he could do is just survive, be happy, and live their life without having any regrets. As soon as he crossed the path with the guy, I was like, is that Shigaraki? My Hero Academia, without the hair? Because he really does have a bit of that. He wants to watch the world burn. Obviously, we do get the aspect of Akira's dad perhaps dying, but it does seem that now with this kid, I don't know his name, so I'm calling him Shigaraki for now, that he's the perfect opposite for Akira, which is really weird because he's very similar. Now, he wants to watch the world burn. He also had the same reaction to Akira when he found out that the apocalypse had just hit. He did the run. He literally does the happy run that Akira does. He also does the thing where he grabs a book and he has a bucket list, but it's a bucket list of crime. It's a bucket list of, I hate these people. This is a very negative version. It's interesting that the show has decided to add a villain to the story. Very happy on killing innocent people. That doesn't also make sense because you're going to put yourself at risk. He also seems to have the mindset that we're all just waiting to become zombies. Screw it, it's going to happen at some point, so I'm going to do as much damage as I can before I go out, which is weird because I'm going to call him the anti-Akira. We have a villain. I wasn't expecting this show to have a villain, but I don't know how I feel about having a villain because he's very extreme, and sometimes having a very extreme villain is something that you can't connect with. Like, I can't connect with the idea of wanting to wipe out innocent people in a village who have perhaps welcomed him there. Now they're just going to repay them by letting the zombies out, which is going to basically overrun the entire village, wipe it out, and that's really... can't get my head around it. It would seem he's got a bucket list of crime and his little gang are just people who are angry at society, and when the world fell apart, they were very happy the world fell apart and they wanted their revenge. They wanted to go on a murder spree. It's very interesting to see that they have added a villain. It's now sad that this is basically our cutoff point. We don't know what's going to happen, and that's it. We don't know when the next 3 episodes are. I'm too busy to be able to read any manga, so I'm not going to be jumping to the manga because I just don't have time to at the moment. But yeah, that was Zone 100. And I honestly think it could have been anime of the season if it hadn't been bumped about. I loved it to pieces. I thought it was great. I thought there were a lot of really solid episodes where there was a very powerful, relatable message at the end of it. It's just really sad because that's it, guys. I don't have anything else to give you. I don't know if we're ever going to see the last 3 episodes. Overall, my thoughts were very positive. Asides the bumping around, I thought it was good. I gave it a solid 8. I think it was really good from what we had. I liked the premise. I liked the way it was handled. I liked a lot of the color aspects. I like a lot of the soundtrack was really good. The animation was good. The colors were nice. The meaning was nice. There's a lot to praise it, but it's now just going to be gathering dust. And the likelihood is by the time it comes back out, I'm going to be very busy as it is anyway. So I may not be able to go back and redo it. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. I really do hope that you yourselves are looking after yourselves. It's been a really difficult month, and now that we're going into the darker months, I hope that you aren't affected by the SADS, the seasonal depression, because I am feeling it. I think the reason why I'm very glad to go to a bit of a break is I think I need a week break. I think I need a bit of a break from making videos. I'll come back better. We've got a lot of new shows coming to the channel. 3 new shows. Hopefully I'll see you guys for those, but it's always sad to see numbers kind of staying stale. And it's been like that for a little while now. I will see you guys again for tomorrow's last video, and then that's it. I will have a break and we will go into the full anime. End of season review has been scheduled. I've done it. It's uploaded. It was painful. I did an all-nighter. It's up. It's done. And I hope you guys aren't too mad because I think I've done a little controversial ranking. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys again in another video. Bye bye, guys.